Hey, what's up you guys? My name is Nathan and my wife Samantha is in the RV right now. Welcome to our channel, Freedom Life Adventures. We actually sold our house and hit the road full time in our RV. Now what we have, it is a fifth wheel, it's a Grand Design 344 GK and the year is a 2018. And we have been on the road now for exactly 26 days. So in just a few days, it'll be an entire month that we have been full-timing in our RV. And in this video, I want to share some of the things that I've learned, what I believe is important for you guys as you're traveling. Now, this doesn't just go for full-time RVers. If you're a weekend warrior or if you have an RV at all, this is going to be helpful for you when it comes to traveling. We did something similar to this, except not to this extreme last year, and this time's completely different where we sold almost all of our stuff. We don't have our house anymore. But last year we did like what you would call a test run, and we did an entire month traveling around the USA last year in our travel trailer, and it was an awesome time. We both really enjoyed it. And so when it came time to sell the house and hit the road full time, we actually, what I would say is an upgrade to a fifth wheel. And the reason we did that is because A, there's a ton more room and it's a little bit more luxurious, and to make it feel like a home away from the home that we don't have anymore that we sold. Okay, so I wanna go over just a few things that I think will help you when it comes to planning your trips, how to RV, and basically to be safe while you're doing it, okay? And the first thing that I wanna share with you guys is to know your route. Now, what I mean by this is a few different things. One is fuel stops. Now, we all know that the price of gas, in our case is diesel, is absolutely crazy right now. But it doesn't matter how expensive the price is if you can't even get there. And there are tons of places throughout the United States where you have to be conscious of how far the next gas station is. So know where your fuel stops are, and also rest stops. You're gonna wanna take rest. Now, last year we went crazy because we knew we were only gonna be gone about a month. So, and we had a whole route planned out. So what we did is last year we were traveling all day on our travel days. We were literally driving on the road for 10 to 12 hours sometimes. And I don't recommend that unless that's something you know that you can do and you can do it safely. And what I mean by that is mentally and physically, are you able to do it? Not only that, you should also be conscious of your tow vehicle, of or if you have an RV, of the engine. You don't want to overdo it with your vehicles as well. Now, a very important part of this, what I want to talk about when I say know your route, is to know grades and clearances. Now, we recently went to Yosemite, and there's actually a pass when you come out of Yosemite and you're going east. There is a long road called Tioga Road, and on that road is a pass called Tioga Pass. And basically there's a grade of, I think it was 8% for like 8 miles going eastward. And I tried to do as much research as I could on this to be sure I know I'm capable, that our rig is capable, and that I physically, as a driver, am confident in going over that before we even booked the route and knew we were gonna go that way. The other thing is clearances, okay? You wanna know how tall is your rig, and if you have a fifth wheel, you also wanna, or a travel trailer, you wanna know how tall is your rig when it's on your tow vehicle, because it is completely different than when it's sitting level and you have your jacks down. Just be sure that you know exactly what your clearance is, and then also look ahead to see what the clearances are on your route. One thing that we use is, it's a little pricey, but we do use a Garmin RV specific GPS system, okay? And there's also another one that we use for more so planning, but it does have it built into an app that you can just use on your phone, and that's RV Trip Wizard, okay? And those are helpful, so if you have tools to use to help you guys understand that stuff, it will help you tremendously. The second thing that I wanna share with you guys is to know your rig. And there's a lot of things that go into this as well, but what I mean is you should know how to operate everything. If you're new to RVing, you should absolutely go through your manual, go through the entire RV, and learn how to use everything. Learn how everything works, so that way if something breaks, you know how to fix it, all right? Not only that, you wanna be able to use everything, okay? For instance, coming from a travel trailer to a fifth wheel, this Grand Design has something called the Nautilus system. And that basically means you're changing all the way the water works inside. Like you can siphon water into this rig, you can go straight dry camping, or you can do city. Now, coming from a travel trailer, I was just used to either city or you're pulling from the tanks. This has a couple more options. So be sure that you know how to use your rig, all right? This is something that is very important that I've personally learned, and that is you should know how to operate if you have slide outs, you should know how to operate your slide outs manually, okay? Now, if you guys know Changing Lanes, Chad and Tara, I was watching a video that Chad did, and they also have a Grand Design. He said if you have a Grand Design, you know, before this certain year, you need to have this breaker fused because it's only a matter of time. Well, oddly enough, I did buy that ahead of time when we lived in our house before we sold it. When we sold the house, we had a 2-week close. So we were rushing to get out of there. Some stuff went into storage. We sold a bunch of stuff, moving stuff into the RV. Somehow that breaker didn't make it with us. And so what we found ourselves doing is not being able to bring our slides in when in Yosemite. And we were actually checking out, I think checkout was 11. We started early, so we were good. However, we ended up pulling out of there, I think 15, 20 minutes after check-in, so it wasn't too bad. Literally, the guy was making his rounds and marking off people who checked out and who were have vacated their sites. He literally said to my wife, he goes, "Hey, I see that you guys are pulling out. I will mark you down as vacated the site." Just be sure you know how to operate your slides manually, and if Chad from Changing Lanes tells you to do something, you better do it. But I would also encourage you guys to learn the mechanics of your entire rig, okay? Number 3 I wanted to share with you guys is to know your tow vehicle, all right? Now, if you have a motorhome, then obviously it's all contained in one. For those of you who have a travel trailer or a fifth wheel, you should absolutely know your rig. Really, the biggest thing here is maintenance, okay? If you're gonna be towing thousands of miles, you know, be sure that you have the basics down. Check your tread wear on your tires, check your oil. Do you need an oil change? Lubricants. One of the bigger things here is weight limit as well. Now, obviously, if you already have a rig, you already made the decision, you bought it, but you will find out in the US as you're traveling, you're gonna see tons of people where it's plain as day. You can just look at their tow vehicle. A lot of times it's SUVs, and they have a rig that is way too big, or even sometimes half-ton trucks. You can totally tell that it's underrated for the towing, okay? And that's what I did when I first bought a travel trailer. Is I had a half-ton, it was a F-150. I thought I was good, and it did the job. However, you just want to be careful with that. I recommend actually going under your max towing limits. But as far as maintenance goes on your rig, be sure to do your maintenance. Make sure your vehicle is good to go, because if you get stuck in the middle of nowhere, especially on the west side where we are, there's so many places where there's no cell signal, and the next town is not for 20, 30, 40, 60 miles sometimes, and you don't want to be caught in that. Number 4 is to have a toolkit. Now, the worst thing that can happen is something goes wrong where you're at. You don't have cell service, you don't have roadside assistance, and even if you did, if you don't have cell service, you're not going to be able to call and get them to you. So you need the proper tools to address the problem. Something basic is a blowout or a tire goes flat. Now, this goes for your rig, okay, your actual RV, and your tow vehicle on your truck or your SUV or whatever you're using to tow. Make sure you have the proper tools to get those lug nuts off, to get your spare tire down. Some people they forget about that, is you need to have the tool, and in my case, it's underneath the back, you know, of the truck. It's underneath the truck bed, my spare tire. You have to have the tool to get it in there to lower it down. Go through your vehicle and make sure you have these things, because if you say, oh, I have a spare tire, I'm good to go, if you can't get it down, you're still stranded. It's going to be a terrible day, okay? So make sure you have the proper tools necessary. And on that note, I know I talked about this a little bit, but just like you check the pressure, tire pressure in your tow vehicle and in your RV, make it a habit. I would say, if you haven't done this yet, do it immediately. Check the air pressure in your spare tire. This is very important because if you rely on this, you have to have it operable. And if it's not, then guess what? You're still stranded. Make sure you check the tire pressure, and then I would recommend every few months, check that tire pressure in your spare. Number 5 is to simply enjoy the journey, all right? You are going to, I'll tell you this right now, we've been gone for 26 days, and we've had several things go wrong with our rig. Several things that you just don't expect, or you do expect, but you want to mentally prepare for these things, because the reason that we're doing this, the reason you're hitting the road, the reason you want to see this great country or wherever your destination is to enjoy it. And if you constantly have things go wrong, and even worse, you're not prepared for them, it's going to be a lot harder to enjoy the journey. You know, one of the first things that happened to us is our AC wasn't working correctly. And thankfully, we weren't too far from home base where we left out of Washington State. And we had just done an inspection on the rig before we did this whole thing. That's another tip. Get an inspection for your RV, or do it yourself if you know how, before you set out, and make sure you're good to go. And they actually missed something with our AC unit. So we actually drove back. I gave them a call. They said, hey, we can get you in like immediately to check this out, because I feel like they know that they messed up and that they missed something as easy as an AC unit. Anyways, they switched out the control box. Next thing you know, we leave Washington State. We're all the way down in Nevada near Tahoe, Lake Tahoe, and the AC unit is not running on high. And so I did troubleshooting, did a lot of research, and I was able to fix and address the problem myself. And basically, I had to recrimp a wire. So that was one thing, was our AC unit issue going, back and forth. I took that thing apart and put it back together like 3 different times. And then the other thing was our slide outs not working. So it was actually the breaker. That Chad from Changing Lanes told me, you need this. I bought it, and I was unprepared by not having it. There was a workaround, which was bringing the slides in manually. And then I was actually able to get that breaker at Napa Auto Parts, which was near Yosemite where we were at. And then I ordered online the upgraded part. Anyways, things are gonna go wrong. Expect the unexpected, and just understand that it's about the journey and enjoying even through some of the hard times that you have. We are absolutely loving it. Right now, we are in Kanab, Utah. We are continuing to head east a little bit more and south, and then we're gonna loop back up to Washington. In about a month from now, we have a wedding, and then we're setting out again and gonna go farther east. So I hope this video was helpful for you guys. If it was, or you have anything to add in the comments below, please do so. If you wanna follow our journey and see some of the awesome footage that we have that we're gonna be posting on here. We've been to places like Yosemite, which was mind-blowing. Today we just went to Zion. Crater Lake was our first stop, and a few other places, all in a month. So we're setting out. We're on a mission to see this country, and we're gonna make the best of it. If you wanna follow the journey right here on Freedom Life Adventures, please subscribe. And of course, hit that thumbs up. This is Nathan, and I will see you guys on the next video. Bye for now.